And any of our members will be able to go back and rewatch this if you need to come back to certain components. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to share my screen. First, I'm going to get it lined up here. And what we're going to be looking at here is a side of signing order that you don't get to see. And again, I put it in the email, but I just want to remind everybody, we are not going to be going through anybody's individual profile in this meeting today. We're going to be going through what it looks like for everyone to kind of give you all a fair chance at how the notary list works. So first of all, this is our back end here at Unlimited Inc. These are all the orders that are taking place throughout the country right now. These are the orders that are trying to get assigned to notaries. These are the notaries that have already completed their order. These are ones waiting for scan backs. These are ones that have not downloaded yet, or there's something missing from the file. Yellow means they haven't downloaded yet. White, we haven't received the documents yet. So this is what an average day at Unlimited Inc. looks like, and these are orders being scheduled for the future as well. Now let's take a look right into the notary search, and this is going to give us a really great idea. You'll notice the first thing that we see on the screen is, and I already see a question from Miss Laura. Miss Laura, do you want to go ahead and ask your question?
Hi, Ronnie. Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm not seeing anything. All I see is a colored image, and then there's a few files across the top. Am I not in the right place?
No, let me see if I shared the wrong screen here.
There we go. Okay.
Let me start this over, and thank you for that. I can always edit that first part out. So I'm going to take you back through that. Sorry, that was only a minute that we lost of our time. So this is like an average day, what it looks like for us as a signing agency or a title agency that's using a platform. These are all the orders that are looking to get assigned. We're still assigning them out for Monday, Wednesday of next week. We even have orders for today. They're still being assigned. Purple orders are orders that have already been completed, meaning that everything's been done, quality control has been performed, the notary's been notified to drop the documents. Blues are still waiting for a scan back review. Green, they've downloaded, they completed the signing probably. It changes and lets us know if they've confirmed, invoiced, where we are in the order. We reach out to those notaries and say, hey, where's our scan backs? Then we have those who haven't downloaded yet. This one takes place at 5:30. And then we have ones that are assigned. We have documents waiting. We usually give title a certain amount of time to let us know if that's done. This is our typical day at Unlimited Inc. here. And so we are constantly going through and looking at this is what we call the pipeline. Now, looking at this is how many orders on the screen here? 174 orders on the screen. And just to, start off the conversation, I have 174 orders on the screen. I cannot answer the phone for 174 notaries all at once. I cannot walk every single notary through their file. This is why training and higher level notaries get to the top of the notary list. But for those of you that have done that, let's take a look at what a notary search looks like and what a notary list looks like. So as you see, I've pulled up a notary search here. I can search for a notary in any zip code. The first thing that it's going to populate up for me is the parameters that I've already set forth when I'm looking for a notary. And this does take a little while to populate. There's 65,000 of us throughout the country. In the signing order database, I think there's 29,494. So that means not every notary in the country is working on signing order. And that's those with my parameters. If I remove these, we will see a lot more notaries come up in the searches. Let me just remove those and see how many total are in the database. And that number is coming right down here at the left side of my screen here, right in the corner. I'm circling it with my mouse. If you can see it, you'll see that number is going to change right now with all the parameters that I have selected are 29,494. Let's see what happens when I have no parameters selected. And it'll take a minute because it's pulling all those notaries from throughout the country. And it could actually take a few minutes. If it doesn't go in the next few seconds or so, we'll move on because it's going to be a pretty large number. So that number goes from 29,000 to 79,826. So you can see how important it is right away for you to put in the credentials that are needed, because you go from competing with 79,829 notaries throughout the country and in your local area, however many that is, to 29,000. You just knocked out 30,000 notaries right away. So if you take that as a law of averages, you knock out 50% of your competition right away. Now, as I go back and I start clicking these buttons, has a profile picture, hide my blacklisted notaries, has a background check, has the NNA background check, NNA certified, E&O insurance, and has a phone number. These are going to bring it back down to that 29,000. And I'm only interested in notaries who actually have their background check, have E&O insurance, has a phone number in their profile. And I also filter by having a photo. I don't care if it's a logo or a good headshot. I will tell you that a good headshot stands out much better than a profile that doesn't. I want to tell you guys and stop you right here. One thing that I see a lot of notaries doing is when they start out, they don't put their name as their profile name. They put a business name because they started an LLC. When you're working on signing orders, SnapDocs or ZigSig, you should be putting your name. There is not a company that are on these platforms that will allow you to manage out any of the files that you receive. Every contract you sign says you have to be the one to service it. Immediately, you're being thought of as a competitor. If it's a signing agency using the platform, they think you're a local signing agency. So they're going to be scared to work with you. If you are starting a signing agency, you probably don't want to be letting people know from afar, because those that are bigger than you are going to put you down and keep that from happening. That happened to me as well. I did not advertise unlimited ink until I was ready to start managing a really large client. Other than that, everyone knew me as just Ronnie Mickle. So that's one thing that's going to start getting you done. Now I'm going to zero this down into the 85013 zip code. And what I'm going to show you is, and I think this is really important. There are additional filters here. If you had certain certifications, you can also choose notaries who have mobile card printers, mobile scanners, all of these things that you fill out in your notary profile. If you carry them, you will get probably more orders, because the more fine-tuned and dialed in a signing agency works for. When I have a rush order, I immediately click in, do they have a card printer? Now, don't go start advertising things that you don't have, and don't go start advertising things just because you think you're going to compete. The first time I call you and you say you have a mobile card printer and you don't, or you moan and gripe about complaining about using it or want to charge more for using it, you're off my list forever. This is an industry, and I want to start this conversation out right, because this is tough love here. You guys are tuning in, wondering how these lists work and how to get to the top of them. I see all over the internet, I cannot stand doing scan backs. Well, guess what? I can't either. I don't like reviewing your scan backs. I wish I could go to bed at 11:30 at night when you did a file at 9:30, and my team and I did not have to stay up and review your scans and possibly catch an error that could get you sued, so that we can all live another day. But we live in the digital age, and it's expected of you. I hear escrow officers like, why can't people, just do the job? And you're a professional, you own a business. If that's not your business model, great, but don't advertise that you have those things if you don't really have them. Now let's dive in a little bit more on this notary list and see how this works. So I'm going to preface this, and I want you guys to know, and I'm in like, let's tell the truth tonight mode, okay? So I don't want anybody to think, because I think sometimes I can get a little preachy and I get passionate. So I don't want you to think, oh, this Scott thinks he's better than everyone else. I worked my ass off to get to where I'm at today, and I'm so happy to be sharing what I've learned, because it wasn't that long ago that I crossed over to where I'm at today at this level to be able to share this information. I didn't know this 5 years ago. I didn't know this 4.5 years ago. I put this knowledge together over the last 4.5 years. So I really want you to know that some of the things that I'm going to say tonight are not meant to be insulting to you. They're meant to put it in perspective for you, because I don't know any other way to share this information without just being honest, and I can't sugarcoat it, because I really want it to get across and mean something to you tonight. So you've heard the story. If you've ever seen the play Wicked, a lot happened before Dorothy dropped in. Well, here's the house that I'm about to drop on all of you. You're not the center of the universe, and there have been people doing this for over a decade before you. And doesn't mean that you can't come in and knock it out of the park, and someone's always retiring. Someone is always going back to their regular job. Someone is always moving out, but there are still a lot of us, and I say us because I'm one of them, that are in this for the long haul. At this point, I don't know how to do anything else, and I don't know who would hire me because, I mean, yeah, I run 2 companies, but I run 2 very specific niche companies. I have to keep this going. And a lot of you have to make this work because you've invested your time, your money, your energy, your spouses have let you into it, but you're coming into a lot of competition, especially recently. 2 things have happened. I know it's been all over the internet about the one reason. We call it the pandemic notary. And if we have pandemic notaries on here, welcome. I am glad you are under the Notary Stars radar and that you're sharing information because you need it. And especially if you're only here to work for a little while until your job opens back up or to make ends meet. I'm glad for you that this career is here for you. I don't blame pandemic notaries. We actually needed them. When the pandemic first started, a lot of our notaries that are on this blue list that we'll talk about very soon started working at other companies because they were getting offers from everywhere. And I always tell people, work first come, first serve, and know how to manage your calendar. Because I don't want to be sole responsibility for someone's paycheck. And although it's nice when I can say that, the second reason that there is so much competition, and I mind you, please go watch a video that I did with Carol Ray. You can Google it up. It's very similar to what we're doing tonight. I said there's only about 400 or 500 notaries that meet these parameters in 85013. And let's just scan down. There's 770. I think it was around 400. The number has doubled in every zip code. For sure, the number of notaries in every zip code has doubled, but it wasn't just the pandemic, guys. And I want to give you guys a fair warning. I will say this publicly, I have backpedaled on some of the things I say about the 6-figure courses because I found out, and we'll talk about that in this meeting, that people can fake those credentials. And that's why at Notary Stars, we don't give you a certificate. We actually watch how much time you spend in the modules and then send you over to other signing agencies and have them import. And I'll show that importing is a real thing here. Show it tonight. But the other thing that's brought in people is the YouTube videos. 10 years ago, YouTube wasn't even a thing. If I went to YouTube, nobody was talking about their job. They weren't talking about side hustles. They weren't telling me how I could pay my rent. They weren't saying I could make 6 figures by being a notary. But now, whether you're looking to be a notary or not, it's insane. You watch anything related to the real estate, and all of a sudden you got a cookie on your computer, and the next time you go, they're going to try to sell you something related to real estate, which is also becoming a notary. So the cat's out of the bag. When I first got trained as a notary, the woman who trained me in her office at a title company, she looked at me and she said, "Don't ever tell anybody what you're doing, because you will be telling them to come compete with you." And in 10 years, I've seen that happen. I never told my friends what I did for a living, never talked about how much money I made. And back then we could get $200-300 a file easy. My minimum fee was $175 10 years ago. Now we're lucky to bang on the door of $125 and $150 and give the notary $90-85. I mean, and we have to pay a staff here. What's bringing down the fees is so much competition that they don't have to throw a rock without hitting one of us. And so there's a lot of competition, but I'm going to help you guys figure out how to abate some of that competition tonight and show you what we're looking at when we do a search for a notary. So let's start looking at the actual list. And I've got it zeroed down to 25 miles. This is Phoenix, Arizona, 85013. I happen to be planted in 85016 tonight. These are the notaries lined up by zip code. Okay, we do it by number of orders. So it starts by, for us, there's the first parameter is how many orders have they done? She's done 475 orders for us, 989 orders for us, 874 orders for us, and this is in a year. Okay, so these people are out there really making it work, and they're white glove notaries. The reason they're blue on this list, they took Notary to Pro. They took Notary Stars. They took additional courses and made sure we knew about them. They got that mobile printer. They got that mobile scanner. So why, if I'm sending out an order at 85013, wouldn't I try up to 25 miles for any of these notaries who have met any of those credentials? Why wouldn't I go with the notary that I know can do those things? And of course, we start them out slow. This is where we start them out slow. This is list 2. This means they took Notary to Pro or Notary Stars. This means that they may or may not have a mobile printer or a mobile scanner. They're almost to the credentials that we're looking for. Now, these notaries in the blue, guess what? Unless it's being shipped, they don't have to do scan backs. If it's being returned, we don't even look at their file. They know exactly our processes. They've invested their time, hundreds of orders, to know what we are expecting out of them. The second tier, and some of these people on the second tier, just so you know, they are just as good as the blue list. However, they don't work full time. Bob Rollison is a really great example of that. I don't know if he's on this list somewhere. Let's see. Bob has been in the game for, gosh, long as Beth, and we don't have to worry about anything that he does. But guess what? He's got a cushy little job sitting at Fidelity, and they let him go on vacations and do whatever he wants to do. And he pops around the offices, and he'll always tell you, this gig ain't bad for an old man in a 3-piece suit. He knows what he's doing. He and I both started with my first large client. We were the 2 notaries in the office. I did all the ones outside the office. He did all the ones inside. And, you know, we tag teamed the big Fidelity office here at Tempe Town Lake before it closed down. So this is list 2. Now, let's just go on to page 2. This is 50 notaries, okay? So 50 notaries, and that's just my list within 25 miles, and it may go on to more. We'll see how far the yellow list goes when I go to page 2. So it stops on page 2. So if I send out an order, an 85013, it's going to go through 50 notaries before it gets to the first person listed in 1.1 miles away. So 50 people have heard about that order because they're on my list. They made their way up. They did the things that we asked them to do. They were easy to work with because the things you put in your profile are only 50% of the battle. We're going to get to customer service later. We're going to be talking about that a lot in the new year. But 50 people. And then I hear every day, I clicked as soon as it came in and I didn't get it. That's because it went to 50 people before it got to you. And it's not all 50 people at the same time. It texts that first person 50, I think it's 30 seconds. So that first person has 30 seconds to look at it. They still can make a decision while it goes to the second. So that means the first person now has 60 seconds, a whole minute. The third person, now they have a minute and a half until someone on that blue list says yes. And it might get all the way to this first person or even down to the last page of the second person, 23 miles away. But if that first person says yes, they're getting the order because they're on the blue list. Blue is automatic assignment. That means if you say yes and you're the first person to say yes, you're automatically assigned. Now, if you're yellow, it will stop the queue, but the blue can still say yes, but no one else is going to get it. So it'll stop our queue and say, one of your notaries has said yes, do you want to proceed? And so that's what you're going through is these lists have been built for a long time. Now I'm going to take a moment here and I want to tell you, and before I go back, we're going to unpack a lot. So don't worry, I'm not done with this. When you see orders, I see notaries calling unlimited ink from, and if any of you are in any of these areas that I just pull from the top of my head, I'm going to try to make up names. I'm not talking to you in this particular. Anybody who's ever called, you know, I say, this is how you get in with us. This is what we're looking for. And I get you to the right information. For you guys who are calling and banging on the door, I can understand. And I talk about this at Notary Stars. Let me actually just pull this up too. So I tell you guys, we have 2 hiring lists, and I know how many of you have actually been to the second one. Some of you that are our members have not even still been to the second one. We start everyone out with a basic hiring list. It's the first tab on Notary Stars. Those are the companies that are nationwide that I've worked with, that Beth's worked with, that Travis has worked with. We've all done an order for them. We know something about them. We've got little tips and tricks on how to get with them, but that's just a basic list. It's about 50 companies. Okay. Nationwide companies are where you really want to put your name in the hat. They're going to be way less caring about where you are on their notary list. It's a crapshoot for those bigger companies like, well, Amrock, I wouldn't say is a crapshoot, but Mortgage Connect, they don't care. You meet their standard credentials, you get in there, you say you got this, you're in. Those are the ones that you get your feet wet with. Those are not the ones you want to work with forever. Those are great starter companies. And I hear notaries all the time, and let's go back to what I just said. It gets to like very far away, and they're like, why am I here seeing this order for so far away? It's either one or two things. Number one, it went through the entire queue of all the notary lists that they've built up for a decade, and it got to you, and that's your chance to get under their radar and say, hey, I can take this order when you have something closer for me, and do it right, of course. Don't ask if you did something bad. But you can ask them, hey, I traveled like 70 miles for this order, didn't charge you more. Just to let you know, I'd like to get up on your notary list. Here's my credentials. It's perfect time to showcase your training, to take one for the team. I say even do 2 or 3 of them for them, and see if and become their go-to notary that way. We have notaries at Unlimited Ink that have traveled to Prescott for me, that have driven to Tucson for me, that have done things for me, and then they are now getting all the orders, and they don't have to go that far. We start it all over again. We bring a new notary in when we need to. And you want to be able to do that with your clients as well. So these nationwide companies, I always tell people, I love MROC. Everybody knows I love MROC. It's the only company I work for outside of Unlimited Ink and Notary Stars, because I can do Ron with them. And I don't have to leave my desk, because this desk, you guys can't see it. I'm actually chained to it. They don't let me leave. You want to start with the nationwide companies. We also have another signing agency and title review, where you can find more information about signing agencies. And this is not where the conversation is going. I just want to point this out, is that there are 2 types of signing agencies on these platforms. There are national and there are local. Okay. National signing agencies, they may have their own platform, like Mortgage Connect has its own, Solidify has its own. But smaller companies, which you can filter down into the state level, like Unlimited Ink, even though we're a nationwide signing agency, we're only in 6 states, and local to only maybe 3 or 4 of them. Some of them are so small still that we just claim that we have business there, but we're not really popping like we are in Florida, Arizona, California, Colorado, and Washington. So 5 states where we're really busy. But like Wisconsin, we have business there. We're not a big deal there yet. You can still filter down to the local level. Now, local signing agencies are going to be much harder to work with. You know why? Because they may be doing, we do 3,000 transactions a month at Unlimited Ink. A local signing agency may be doing 200 to 300, and that could be 1 to 3 clients. And if you mess up one of their clients, that's it. They're done. And so that's why they're harder to get with. They have a lot more trust factor. I tell Travis now these days, it's great, because I used to not breathe for years as we were building Unlimited Ink. And I was like, God, if we ever lost a client, we're screwed. Now, if we lost a client, God forbid, knock on wood, we would be okay. We're at a client growth rate of a new client every week. I brought on a client this week, and I have a new client conversation starting on Monday after the holiday with a big one in Colorado. And, that's why they're harder to get with, but you should be balancing it out with nationwide signing agencies and local signing agencies. And I'm going to say this before I move on to the rest of the presentation tonight. I understand that there are people on the internet that say, go for the higher fee, counter offer, do all these things. In the beginning of your career, you're hurting yourself. So stop. Don't listen to the internet chatter. Find out what the national average is in your area. Don't listen to someone who's out in the middle of, I got a woman up in Show Low. She gets 200, 175 a file, but she's going 60 plus miles on every order. And there's like no cell phone service. that, she's the only notary out there. She can charge that. But in Phoenix, Arizona, there's literally within 25 miles of 85013, 700 notaries who actually have everything I need them to have. And the title doesn't want to pay $200 per file. People don't make as much money in Phoenix, Arizona as they do in Los Angeles, California. The cost of living is much different. So look at who you're listening to. And I'll tell you, some of these crabby people, the older people that are out there, they're like, I only work for $300 a file. Well, guess what? They probably get one file a year. They're not getting $300 a file all day, every day. And that can make you feel bad about yourself. And that can make you feel as if you are not good enough. The truth is you really need to look at what the orders are coming out from, because that's how it's already been pegged for you. And you can negotiate, and sometimes, yes, you'll get them, but it won't be every time. They may be in a bind and you get it that one time, but what's better? Ask yourself, what's better? Is it better to start a relationship on $85 an order and build that into something that could turn into $125 an order over time, or get one-time upgrade fee and never hear from them again, or be pegged as the notary that's wanting too much? So you have to ask yourself, are you trying to do this short term? Great, charge whatever you want. But if you're doing this as a long-term career, you have to build those clients slowly over time. I have some great notaries that only work outside the unlimited ink fees, and I will use them when it is a last resort. And we know them by name around here. And if any of them are here tonight, congratulations. But they don't get every order like the notaries who take them and just say yes. They're constantly out there doing 4 or 5 of them for us a day. We have one woman that works here for us in Phoenix. I think she may even be, yep, I see her name here. I hope it's okay to say, but Miss Sue Cope, everything we ever need in a notary. She was actually the first notary on Notary Stars that I ever trained on this kind of platform. So if you go back to the original video, you will see her. She was the first notary when I went live, and I tell people that all the time. I taught that night like there were 500 people watching, because I wanted to get here. But I love that, she's out there. She does her job. She's been with us. She's been very loyal, and she gets first pick on everything. And we actually call her before the queue starts on a lot of things, like, are you available? Are you available? If you can be that way with a signing agency, or you can put all your eggs in lots of baskets, which is what I say. Now, before I go back to the list, I want to tell you one more thing. For those of you who want direct business, and I'll probably mention this again, I've said this a lot of times, direct business is where you want to land. Sure, but you are always going to need signing agencies in your back pocket. You are always going to need the general public in your back pocket. You are always going to be wanting to build your business. Case in point, Fidelity, Tempe Town Lake. For anybody that's in Arizona and close to Phoenix or Tempe, please go over to Tempe Town Lake and tell me if you see a Fidelity office there, because there ain't one. I worked at that office, and I'll never forget my biggest paycheck out of that office, $15,000 that month, which is about what I spent on my little small backyard wedding. And it's like a week before my wedding, and I'm dropping off documents, and I go in and there's just boxes everywhere. And I'm like, well, you guys moving offices? And the escrow officer that used me looked at me and said, no, I'm retiring. And I thought, what? We're not even going to talk about this? You can't work another year? It scared me. But luckily, I had other clients taking off. That's when Open Door was bringing me in to do their nationwide signings. And then we started going one after the other. It was a blessing in disguise. You know what they say, when one door closes, another opens. But had I not had a lead starting, it would have been total and utter devastation. You really don't want to put all your eggs in one basket. And I see title companies all the time. We had one yesterday say, could you just send in a notary and sign all day for a flat rate? And I'm like, none of my notaries would, because they want to be out in the field making money. Unless you're going to pay the full rate, they're not going to come in and do 10 signings for $300 when they can go out and do 5 and make 3 times the money. They'd rather be out on the road doing that. Now, there may be some of you out there that really want to do things like that in-office signings and stuff to get started. And that's a great way to learn the documents and have someone there. But be careful for those of you who want direct business. It doesn't last. You know, signing agencies last because if they lose a client, they're going to go out and get another one. Let's continue to talk about the list now. I just wanted to bring up those three components because those are really important to get in tonight as well. So we're back at the notary list, and you got to ask yourself, how am I getting noticed when I'm competing with this many notaries? Okay. So the first thing I want everyone to do before I even go any further is I want you to make a mental note for SnapDocs, ZigStig, Notary Dash, signing order. Stop calling all the companies, sign up with everyone, make a standard date of, you know, I'm going to sign up with this portion of the list and get as many as I can done in this week and get as many as I can done. But stop calling them and begging them, unless they're nationwide, like BankServe is a nationwide, Amrock is a nationwide, Mortgage Connect, that nationwide list we have up there, those are the ones you want to call. The local ones, the smaller ones, the ones you don't hear people talking a lot about, watch signing order for the next week. Take a screenshot or leave your text messages there and notate every order that comes in and who it was from for a month and see who you now need to be reaching out to. If they send you one order in a month or one order in 3 months, it's not really worth your time. You should care less if you got that file or not. But if they send out 15 orders a month, you need to be banging on their door and you need to find out what they need from their notaries for you to be on their list. You don't need to be calling the people who have one order in your area once. Your order counts are going to show to them that you're active with the busier company anyway, and it's going to make you more appealing to that one person who has an order in your area. So stop fighting for all of them and focus on the ones that actually have business in your area. I will tell you that you should never burn a bridge in this industry. And I got more to unpack, but this is all a part of this conversation. You should never burn a bridge in this industry if you can help it. This is my standard response for Notary Go. They still call me. I'm sorry, but I'm booked. I don't get into your fees are too low. I don't get into that because guess what? I know people who work there and they know people that work here and we talk. And when you really go off the rails and say, I don't want to work for you and people talk about you and blah, 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 I think, okay. I had a very interesting conversation with a notary recently. They were like, oh, you know, we hear all kinds of crap about unlimited ink. And I thought, great, I only listen to the good stuff because I only have time for my job. But then the next thing I did was push a button and forwarded everything over to a couple of other signing agencies here because it pissed me off. And it can happen. You know, you guys go out there and talk about other companies on the internet. The companies talk about you too. And we have internal review systems. And I'm being honest. This is a real honest conversation tonight because I want you guys to know the standard response if you don't want to work with a company is, oh, I'm sorry, I wish I could help you, but I'm busy. And don't be the, I'm sorry, I can't help you, but really happy voice. I'm sorry, I can't help you. I really wish I could. What is another one? ServiceLink. I really don't like working with ServiceLink, but I work with them. And when I work with them, I'm a professional and I give them 100,000%. They don't do anything wrong. And I know notaries who love them and survive off them. So I'm not speaking ill of them, especially since this is recording going to be republished and I'm not editing that out. I still work with them. I don't like their particular processes. I have notaries who don't like unlimited inks processes because they're used to doing certain things a certain way. I'm used to doing things a certain way. ServiceLink has never done anything wrong to me. They have always paid me on time. If I ask for more money for going further, they always negotiate with me. There's nothing wrong. There's something about their platform and all of those things that doesn't suit my needs. But I would be an idiot to tell them I don't want to work with you anymore, or I don't want to work with you at all. I simply say I'm booked. I can't do it. And I'll tell you, I wish I could take the camera out to my car. I still have a lift sticker on my car. I've not driven Lyft in 6 years, but I still have a lift sticker on my car. And I'll tell you why, because God forbid tomorrow I wake up and I don't have any clients. Guess what I would be doing? I'd be driving a Lyft or working for ServiceLink and begging for files just like everyone else. I'm lucky at this point in my life, but just like an escrow officer leaving, a whole company could go bankrupt and you have to find your business. The perk of being in our industry is working with everyone. But going back to my original point, so we can go back to the look at the list, is make sure that you are looking at who has a pulse in your area, who really has business in your area. Where do you see these orders coming from on signing orders, SnapDocs, Notary Dash, ZigSig? Where are they coming from? And then that's where you're going to see more increases when you reach out to them and ask them, you know, I see a lot of orders coming out. We've maybe worked together once or twice, but I don't really get your orders. I've taken Notary to Pro, Notary Stars, Loan Signing System, Bill Soroka, Sign and Thrive. Let them know how much you've trained and beef it up. If you've taken all of them, put them all in there because they're all known. Put it in there and get on top of their list. Now, there's another way that signing agencies find out about you. I'm going to go over here to the settings in the back end of our platform, and I'll come back to the notary list. I always tell you guys, we actually send out you guys after you've completed training. I just want to point this out because we never do this at Notary Stars, and I got all of you here tonight, and it's being recorded. You see this import button here. All we do is download all the notaries inside Notary Stars after they've hit a certain amount of time. And then we send them out with an email on how to do this in their platform, whether it be SnapDocs or Signing Order or anybody, whatever platform they're on, I figure out how to get them in. They all have an import system. And then they can get added to the approved list and the preferred list. Approved is my blue notaries, and then preferred is my yellow second tier. Unless you've done multiple training courses, we always instruct them to import that particular list to preferred, which means you go on their second string and to develop a relationship with you. So it's still going to take time, but you're getting a huge boost. If you've done multiple training courses, we look at that in your profile as well, and we verify it. The only one that we actually verify is Notary to Pro. Barbara, which is Carol's daughter, actually sends us a CVC code, our CVC file every month. And we go through and we match up the Notary Stars unless you purchase both through us, and we put them on a higher part of the list. And we make it very clear, because remember, we're building a brand here. We want great notaries who really spent the time to train, and we're not just going to send out notaries who signed up one time. I don't care if you paid for 2 years, but if you didn't do the training, I'm not sending you over to someone as an endorsement. It's just like a resume. You can't fake it because the proof will be in the pudding. And if we send out too many notaries that aren't really doing what they're supposed to, then they'll stop using Notary Stars. And there are a lot of people benefiting from that boost that we give them for getting more signings. So this is how, and if you are not currently signed up with Signing Order, which I know almost everybody at Notary Stars is, it will invite you to sign up with Signing Order if they import you. We usually check it to see if you're in there first. And we do have some notaries that say, no, I'm not ready yet. So if we've ever reached out to you, you may be one of the notaries that says, hey, don't do that yet. I'm not at the point that you think I am. Because some people need to take training twice, 3 times, 5 times to get it right, and that's okay too. Let's get back to the notary list here. I know that we are 38 minutes in, and I'm not going to start talking any faster than I have, but I want to make sure that we get back to the why we're all here. The next thing that you can do before we actually go into profiles, the next thing that you can do is we're going to wait for the list to do. Signing Order and some other services offer something called Premier. And that is mostly for newer notaries. If you're on someone's list, it's not going to hurt you to not have it, but even the new notary. So I put in 85013. Now this notary, she went in and filled out her 20 zip codes. And instead of coming up 12 miles away or 22 miles, well, let's do it by the distance, because a lot of people don't do it by number of orders. Just so you know, I do it by number of orders because we reward those notaries who are working hard out in the field. So Bo McDonald, amazing notary. She's coming up 17 miles before him, and this is his actual home zip code, or he lives in, I think, 85016. She's coming up before because she went in and paid the Premier upgrade to get those 20 zip codes. So even though he's 1.1 miles away, he's on the top of my list Now she's paying signing orders saying, hey, I want that zip code. If something comes out, tell me first. So she jumps the list ahead of everyone. And it shows us she bought that zip code. It says Premier. Now let's go down and see how that affects someone on the white list, which is our third tier of notaries, like just anyone who signed up for signing order at all. So he's bought his own zip code, and still 50 notaries get the order before he does. And we've yet to work with him, and we have tons of work in 85012 and 85013. So that's how the notary list is defined. Now, let's just say we were out in the middle of, let's just find a random zip code. Let's see. I don't do a lot of business in, let's see. What's it good? Okay, we'll do Michigan. Before we go on to that, let's just do Michigan zip code. I'm just gonna find a random one. That's a short zip code. Oh, let's see. There's got to be something on here that says, okay, I guess let's just grab this one and see where it comes up. Now, keep in mind, I don't have a lot of business. We probably only have, if we have any notary stars okay, so we have 2 notaries that have come up here. You can see Notary Stars Platinum. We usually put a little note in there. So they've either done Notary Pro or Notary Stars. So they go on top of the list for this zip code. And then everybody else starts going. Let's just take a random notary. Well, let me give you an overview. When I'm searching for a notary in an unknown area, okay, and all signing agencies have to that are nationwide, the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to look by distance. Even if you're at the top of the list, I'm going to look and see who I've got closer. I would send these 2 notaries out that are on the list, and I would give them first preference. But then I'm going to also take in consideration anybody that's close to the order that has a high order count. So I'm going to be looking like, how many orders did they do? Well, 8, 6, 4, 3. That's not a lot. That's not a lot of experience. So now I'm going to result in training. Let's just take a look at this profile here. And I don't even know this person, but it's public information. I'm going to be looking for a couple of things. What training courses did she take? They're going to populate here. I'm going to be looking for, and so she's got the NNA. She's NNA certified. She's got experience with buyer, seller, refinance. She tells me where she'll accept orders, and she has excellent attention to detail. But I don't really see that, and she's only done 20 orders. Now, the next thing I would default to look at is, what kind of feedback does she have? So we can see your feedback at a glance here. We can see how many positive feedbacks you have, how many neutral, how many negative. And this little black one here is how many times have you been blacklisted? Let's pop back over to, I'm going to copy this zip code, but let's pop back over to 85013. I used to do this at live onboarding and show notaries. So there comes a point where you do something really bad and you'll get a blacklist. I have a lot of them, but I own a signing agency and people blacklist me before I've never actually taken an order on signing order, not even for my own company. And I've been blacklisted 5 times. So it's other companies that blacklist trainers and everything like that. And so I don't use my own profile as an example. I have no negative feedback because I've never done an order. But people know me around Phoenix, and nobody that has a signing agency here would want to work with me because I would probably steal their business. And it's true, I would. I would be really good at it, and then people would want Ronnie Lee, and then I would be like, come work at Unlimited. But getting back to the list, so we were back in Phoenix, Arizona on this notary search here. I'm going to filter by distance, and I'm going to show you, this is what happens when you're blacklisted. And it's just a click of a button. First of all, it shows everybody that you have a blacklist mark. And believe me, there are people who have 20, 30, 90, and it's bad. I mean, we've seen some. But watch what happens when I uncheck the blacklist view. You start to see that those profiles that we are no longer going to ever work with show up again. And in Phoenix, there's going to be a lot more than any other part of the country, because we've given a lot of notaries chances here. These notaries will never see orders again. And you can see it's not just us. They now have 2, 4, 2, 3. When I always say, if you've been married 9 times, hell, maybe it's you. Well, if you've been blacklisted 5 or 6 times, it's probably you. It's not either you want a signing agency or you're doing something wrong. So you have to be very careful. Now let's go back to that other zip code and take a look at notaries. What I'm looking for when I am choosing a notary in an area that I don't know, and case in point here, I mean, I told you we don't have that much business out here, but we've already blacklisted this notary. She's done 1 order for us and is blacklisted. So, and I know it's darked out where you guys can't really see it, but that's what a blacklist looks like. I'm going to hide that for now. A lot of times when we're going through, if you've been blacklisted 4 or 5 times and you only got 20 orders, we just blacklist you. We don't even give you an opportunity to screw it up with us. Your previous work history speaks for itself. Every platform has this ability. SnapDocs, signing orders, ZigZig, and I hear notaries tell me all the time, well, that's not fair because we don't know, we are not getting feedback. If you know your job, you would know you were doing it right. If you know, like you know that you're doing a good job, you won't have to worry about negative feedback. If something goes wrong, apologize, and make it right. As Carol Ray says, it's not the mistakes we make that people remember, it's how quickly we remedy them. And that's true. We don't put negative feedback on notaries for missing a signature or anything as long as they fix it. The ones that don't fix it are the ones that start having a problem. Now, when I'm clicking on notaries, I'm going to be looking at a couple of things. Your number of orders. And you might say, well, how do I get more orders? You know, how do I get that experience? Now, I'm in an area that I don't know. And even if this was Phoenix, when we got going off grid, going off our normal pipeline of notaries, I'm going to look at how many orders you've done. I'm going to look at a couple of things. All these notaries are going to say yes. And I'm going to start comparing profiles. This one has got 1 middle, 1, 2 negative, 3 blacklists. She's definitely not getting one of our orders in a rural area, because in Phoenix or in Seattle or Los Angeles or Jacksonville, I can send one of our regular notaries out to get a file from you and save the day. You're in an area that I can't get to easily by car, we're going to be very selective. So we look at order count, we look at feedback, of course, but then it starts going into the profile and we start saying like, well, did they take any, well, here's one, credentials are out of date. Well, I can't use you and I don't have time. I'm scheduling orders. Let's go back to the unlimited ink day today. And I'm not the only person that works here. I have 25 people that work here, but this is my pipeline right now. These have to be scheduled. And if I'm scheduling an order in this zip code, I don't have time to call you to tell you to update your credentials. So this is another thing that notaries need to really understand. And I want you guys to know, if you don't know, and I'm rubbing my eyes because it stresses me out to even think. And I know that there are newer notaries, and it's not just newer notaries. I know notaries that have been notaries for 2, 3 years, and they're like, I was wondering why they stopped calling, and their W-9's out of date, or their background check's out of date. You need a new W-9, you need a new background check, and you need a new NNA certificate every year that you're commissioned. So you have to renew it. And I always tell you, try to renew 1 month before you did the next time in case it takes longer. But these credentials go out of date. And then the second thing is I see notaries saying, well, they didn't pay me for my file. And it always happens right after the first of the year. It's because you don't update your W-9. And I know what the IRS says. You don't only have to have one on file. A lot of companies and a lot of title agencies, it's their policy. And it's in their contract that you sign that you will update that W-9 yearly. So if you get something out of tonight, make sure we're about to go through the first of the year, update your W-9s, make sure everybody has it, and make sure you update your notary credentials on every website. It is a lot because you go through and sign up with all these. Make sure you definitely update the ones that are giving you business. The next thing that we look at is your bio, your photo. You know, photos like this, I don't mind. That's smiling. I can see her face. There's nothing wrong with this photo. I can see she took 1, 2, 3 training, loan signing system, NNA. We add up to 3 training courses. Let's see how many. Let's see if I can find her photo again. what was her name? Ingrid. Ingrid, where did I click on her? There we go. I can see, you know, she's done 21 orders. She's got no negative feedback. She's taken some training courses. Her credentials are up to date. She's had 25 years of experience in real estate sales experience. That doesn't mean loan documents, but she's still got experience in this industry. She said sales experience. She's very familiar with the loan process. You know, she's got some things that would make me say, okay, you know what, this is probably a better candidate. Of course, I'm going to look for Notary Stars, Notary Pro. Those are our preferred training courses because I know what's in there. We're going to look and see who's the best candidate when we're going off grid. Okay, we in our major areas, again, in Phoenix, we have that list that we go from. In Seattle, we have a list. Los Angeles, we have a list. Jacksonville, we have a list, and lots of the part of Florida. But in rural areas, or not rural, anything outside of those areas is not rural. I mean, Cleveland, Ohio is a big city, but you know, when you're in no man's land, you have to kind of really look around, and bios are important. I want to tell you right now, if you've worked in real estate as a realtor, do not use that as your leading sentence, because you're not operating as a realtor. And I can't tell you how many realtors mess up signings. Realtors get bad reputations for going to their signings and overprotecting their customers. Your job is to sell the house. The lender's job is to give a loan on the house. The title agency's job is to do the title work, control the funds. And as a signing agent, your job is to sign the documents properly and get them back to the assigning party. You want to lead with, I've taken the National Notary Association, Notary to Pro, Notary Stars, Loan Signing Systems, Bill Soroka Signing Thread. List all your training, upload the certificates if it has a place for it. Let them know what you've done first as a signing agent. And then say, I also formerly worked as a realtor. Because when you lead with, I was a realtor, or I was a former title officer, I was a former loan officer, that's all they see. And there's like a brake screeching. They're still stuck in that space. Lead with what you're doing now. That's because that's going to tell them you've already made that crossover that's not going to get in their way of working as a signing agent. And I will tell you, this is true. We have a lot of companies that don't want to hire notaries if they were former realtors, because they think they haven't changed their brain over yet. You've got to learn to walk on your signing agent feet, not the feet that you used to walk on as a realtor. Does that make sense? I can see some nodding heads if you got your camera on. I just want to make sure I didn't get lost on that topic there. So I want to start opening it up for questions now. I've unpacked a lot. I've really showed you how a notary list works, why you might be getting orders from further away, why people are getting assigned to them before, things that we look at behind the scenes. I'm really interested in seeing what you guys might have to ask about this tonight. Now I see we've had some hands raised, and I see the hands starting to raise. Miss Beth, you've had your hand raised for quite a minute, so I'm going to start with you because you were the first one on there.
Well, I just wanted you to unmute me so that I could help you with some of this stuff.
Okay. Yep, you are unmuted.
Thank you.
Let me see. I'm going to make you a co-host, so you have full control now to be able to help with everything.
Perfect. Thank you.
Miss Beth, you'll be going through the chat as well to pull up any questions that we have from the chat as well, correct?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. The next question that we have was from Laura, and I know that went up at the beginning, so I want to just make sure if you don't have any other questions. I know you were probably trying to let me know I was on mute earlier, but if you have questions from Laura, we'll take you next.
I did have one, and it's, I don't know if it's relevant or not, but based on what you said, as far as it looks very systematic, the way you have things scheduled for those notaries in blue and yellow and so forth. But my question is, if a notary was to make, say, mistakes or to have issues, how do they redeem themselves? How do they get back from, how do they correct that?
Okay, great question. So at Unlimited Ink Notary, anybody that's worked with us, we review your scans and then we let you know if there's any errors and we tell you it's okay to ship. Following our directions is number one. Okay, and you have, if you've never worked with a company before, you've got to read their directions. I don't care how many signings you've done. If you've never worked with a company before, read their directions because you can make or break a relationship. Second of all, when you make an error, there's this, I can't stand when I call a notary and I say, you know, you missed a stamp on a deed of trust, and they go, I can fix it next Thursday. No, you can't. This is closing today, and we're going to need this now because otherwise we're not going to be able to close this. And we all know there are rate lock-ins on refinances, and if sometimes these people are signing on their last day to sign and they're going to lose their rate lock-in. That is a notarial error, and I have actually had to file complaints with the governing authorities, which is usually the Secretary of State, on notaries who refuse to fix their errors. If I call you and you say, "Oh my God, let me fix that," there's nothing negative going on you, and I don't know many people who would. But I'll tell you, I have a notary. She was a notary star. She's no longer welcome on this site. We've worked with her before. I called her and I said, hi, I just reviewed your file. There's 5 missing signatures, 2 are critical. We were paying $100. It was 2.5 miles from her house. And she literally, and I have a recorded call. If you've ever called in the line, it tells you you're being recorded for training purposes, but it's also being recorded to protect us, to show that we've done our due diligence. I call and she goes, I'm sorry, but you don't pay me enough to return. And the stamps on the document clearly said, 3 of them said read and approve. She goes, I don't know what read and approve means. And I thought, it means read and approve. Like you have to sign in the box. It doesn't get any clearer than a big red stamp. Now I know it prints out black and white, but it's on the paper. She said, well, I know that you're going to reduce my fee, so I'm just going to shred these and you can send another notary out. So now I have to send another notary out, and it took getting attorneys on the phone with her, signing order on the phone with her. She did ship the documents. She did not do the corrections. We did send another notary in her place. We did not pay her at all because in our contract it says, if you cause anything that would cost money, we have to take those funds and allocate it to whoever's going to fix it. And I think that's very fair, because if I would have done that, I wouldn't have expected to be paid. And here's the thing. I've had notaries to say, Ronnie, I'm so sorry. Can you send another notary? Is it possible to send another notary to fix that? I'll take a fee hit. I've actually said, you know what, we'll pay you and I'll get another notary. It's not what you say, it's how you say it. It's not what you do, it's how you do it. Carol says it best. It's not the mistakes we make that people remember, it's how quickly we remedy them. That is true. It remains true. I knew that before she said it. She says it more eloquently. When you don't fix your error is when it's a problem. Does that help you out, Miss Laura?
Sort of. When I've noticed, and I don't know, when I'll speak for myself, when I don't get feedback, and I think you cleared this up earlier, if you're doing your job and you're doing it 100%, there shouldn't be any feedback because you're doing it properly. But then when you start to see either less jobs or changes in opportunities, you start to think, well, did I do something wrong? What can I do? Some signing services give you I think as we had in the last week's seminar, it was, you have a point system and you can go and you can look at that. Not everyone has that. And when you email someone and say, okay, well, what have I done wrong? Is there something that's keeping me from getting more signings? It's nobody responds. So
I'll tell you why. I don't want to cut you off, but I'm going to tell you why nobody responds. And we do it Unlimited Ink, and we have notaries who say, I have notaries who call me and say, well, I'm not getting any response. I'm not getting any orders. And I say, well, we sent you like 80 last month and you only did 2. where were you? And they, oh, I was busy last month and we didn't know, so we just bumped you down. Or your order count went down, because remember, it sorts by orders. On at least our system, there's a million different way you can set up your own algorithm with those. When you, if you, let's take this in two parts. First part, when you're returning your files, if you feel that you need validation that it wasn't done correctly, you need to be training. You need to be in Notary Stars, rewatching the videos, coming to some live sessions if you can, because your confidence isn't there yet. And that's okay, because it takes time and it does take experience too. When you call a title company and ask them, you are wasting their time because they expect you to have done the training and built your experience at the same time. They don't want to, they don't have time. Some of these escrow officers that I work with, they're doing 100 files a month. And even though we do 3,000 transactions, I have a team of 25 and it is hard on us, but they have 100 files to 200 files on their desk a month. And the last, if it went well, that's great for them. And they're just moving on to the next file. For every file they do, they may have to make 100 phone calls and put so many documents together and do all things and wait for things and follow up and beg lenders for this and can we do this? And they just don't have time to do your job too, or give you validation for your job. And when you think of it this way, when you get a file from the lender or title, you're not validating them like, oh, well, this file was so put together, you know, and you did everything for your customer. It's not how that works. See, we tend to zero down on ourselves as notaries and realize that an escrow officer went through hell to get us that file and sometimes fire. And the lender went through hell and fire to get us that file. And Travis did a really great episode about that. By the time it gets down to us, we kind of see ourselves as the center of the universe sometimes, and we're just one little cog in the gravity of all that makes lending happen. And so when you reach out to them, it shows inexperience. If they have a problem with you or your work, they will reach out to you, believe me. So no news is the best news you're ever going to hear in this industry.
Thank you.
Thank you. It's a really great question. That's why we're doing that tonight. The next question that is coming up is Mr. Griffin. Mr. Griffin.
Hey, what's going on, Ronnie?
How you doing tonight?
Man, I am doing good. You got me pumped up. You really do.
I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah, because I mean, everything that you're sharing is things that I've been sharing on my channel, on YouTube, telling notary. I'm talking about darn near verbatim, word for word, about not calling the signing companies, because when I first started, the signing companies told me, they said, don't call us. If we need you to do something, we'll reach out to you. We don't have time to sit here and babysit you. That's exactly what they told me. They said, if you make a mistake, just correct it. But we do not need you calling us because we have 15 other notaries. In this case, the lady said, right now, she said, I got 5 notaries who have not showed up for their orders. And I don't have time to try to help you feel good about whether you did bad or good, or did you miss this or miss that. I don't have time to go back and do a document review with you. That's not my job here. And they told me that one time. And again, in the beginning, listening to people on the internet, called them. And I did that, and I got my hand slapped pretty hard. And I said, you know what? I ain't doing that mess no more. I'm gonna just be confident in what I'm supposed to do and do it. And I just want to
I want to say one thing. You make a great point, and we get argued with a lot of unlimited ink about, well, why do I have to do scans? I don't have to do them for other companies. And I'm going to tell you, you said the title officer doesn't have time to tell you to get a job. Our drop approval that we reviewed your file should be a validation. Any company that's doing that for you, they're stopping you from getting yelled at from an escrow officer. Because I have to tell you, and I love all my clients, but I have a few of them you really don't want to call you to tell you that job, because it's going to sound a lot worse than me telling you. So it's better to have done the review and go through a quality control so it can close than to have one of my clients, because I have clients that might slash your tires. I mean, like, seriously, that's how passionate they get. But keep going. You jogged my memory about something.
Yeah, and what you said earlier about just getting out there doing the work for the fees that are there. I mean, I remember one time I did a job. It was a 3-hour round trip with a $20 toll, and I only took $100. And I did it so I could just get an idea of, is it really worth $100 or should I get paid more? I don't know, but I said I'm gonna go do it because one, and this is what I share with everybody. At the end of the day, we all, when we joined and became a notary signing agent or loan signing agent, however you want to classify yourself, we did it for one reason and one reason only: to make money, not to sit around and brag about what orders we took, not to brag about I'm being in an escrow officer's office and all of that, because I'm hearing stories from notaries about being in escrow offices, and after being in there for a little bit, then they flip the switch and say, well, I'll keep you if you go ahead on and work for me as a W-2, to try to reduce the amount they're paying them. I've heard stories of people being harassed sexually and all that kind of stuff. So I don't have that problem when I'm with a signing company. They don't bother me. They just like get the job done. So there's some things within the signing when you're in the office, but we all we came in this industry for one purpose and one purpose only: to make money, to take care of our family. But then no sooner than we get in, we got some of these people out here. I'm gonna just say people. I'm not gonna say no bad name, but they got people out here who spend their time telling us not to make money. And I've done Grubhub, I've done the grocery delivery and all of those, and nobody ever worried about how much money I'm making. But when it's like with the notary, it's like there's always somebody telling notaries, well, don't take this order, don't make that money. You need to only make money at this level. And I'm like, I'm okay with 85, because if I get enough of those 85s and I don't see all of these 775, I'm able to make the money to take care of my family, which is the whole purpose of why I did this. And now, based off of what you're saying, I have started getting more 125, 150s, and 175s because I've done the work. And like I always say, you told me straight up, you said, Griff, I normally wouldn't pick you, but your profile is good. You got good reviews. You appear to be one of the top notaries in your area. You don't have as much insurance as I like, but I'm gonna give you a shot. And you basically, and I took it as you saying, look, don't screw this up, dude. And I was like, all right, man, I got you. And I went out, did that order on that Saturday morning and got it all done. You said the scans was good. I was like, all right, cool. And that was the first order I did for you. And I've done, the next one was like well over a year or two later. But I remember that. And that made me feel good that you said, hey, you got what it takes. Just go out there and do it right. And I said, all right, cool. I'm gonna make this happen.
Yep. I want to piggyback on what you said about bragging about fees, and I mentioned that earlier. But I want you guys to know that's listening. And do I think it's anybody here? No, I think we have a different group here. It's okay to talk about your profession on YouTube. It's okay to talk about what you're doing in this industry, what you like about the industry. What it's not okay is talk about how much money you make. I can't stand it. It's not a personal pet peeve. I dare you to go work at McDonald's for a week and tell the next employee what you're making for an hour, even if it's the same thing. You're not in corporate America anymore, but in this industry, when you're talking about how much money you're making, you look so unprofessional. You look so untrained. And I'm going to tell you, I don't talk about how much money I make because I'm afraid someone might slit my throat to take that money from me. And you don't know who you're talking to. I'm on YouTube a lot, and I went to a public place recently. I had a beer, and I might as well say I went to the casino because there was money in my hand. And somebody, I have no idea who they are, walked up to me, put their arms around me, and I thought they were robbing me. And I was like, whoa, what are you doing? They're like, I know you. You're the notary guy from YouTube. And I thought, this is exactly why I don't talk about how much I make. Because now I have a stranger walking up to me, because sometimes in these situations, people, they they feel like they know you. And then here's the thing, if I was a title officer and I saw you on YouTube, first of all, our career is not a side hustle. You may be doing it as a side hustle, but when you do it as a side hustle, like Mr. Griffin said, you have to do it professionally. Grubhub, you do it professionally. Lyft, you do it professionally. Notary work, you do it professionally. If I saw you on YouTube bragging about how much money you're making, I'm not going to hire you. And I want to point out to you guys, go look at those counts on those videos. Those videos are paid to get started, to get the clicks. You can pay a very small amount, $500 can get you 500,000 clicks on YouTube. And then you can monetize them, which is what commercials are in them. We monetize some of our videos on YouTube. And I'm making money in my sleep from it. And it's okay because I have a low membership cost versus some of the $500 courses. But you look unprofessional if you talk about how much money you make. You shouldn't brag. You shouldn't talk about it with, I mean, maybe if you have a in-house notary, like a brother or sister that's doing it, that's okay. But definitely stop talking about it and don't get caught up in the conversation. Set your goals for you and your business, your household, and leave it in your household. I got to go on to Miss Keller that's had her hand raised for a while because I want to make sure we get all the questions in. And I think Beth has got some from the chat as well. Miss Keller, are you ready? I sent you the ask to unmute. There you go.
Okay, all right. Can you do me a favor and just elaborate a little bit more on the blacklisting? When you say that your notary list will identify agents that have been blacklisted, is your blacklisting, where are you drawing the blacklisting from? Is it something that you're just tracking on your own through work that's done through Unlimited Inc., or are you pulling in blacklist standings from other signing companies?
So it pulls from each platform has its own blacklist. So you can be blacklisted on StatDocs and unaffected on signing order. You can be blacklisted on ZigSig and unaffected on the other two. But generally, and we imported out our blacklist, our personal blacklist, to take with us to ZigSig when we switch over. But when we blacklist you, it shows any other companies that you've been blacklisted. If any other companies blacklist you, we get to see how many times you've been blacklisted. We have 150 clients in our database. One can blacklist you and it's still going to show one, or all of them can blacklist you and it's still going to show one. Okay. You could, the only way to get 2 blacklist marks is for 2 independent companies to blacklist you on one client level or all client levels. So if I were to click blacklist someone right now, it's going to give me a dialog box and ask me which clients do you want to do. I can select all, or I can select just that client. Recently, we had a notary up in Colorado, really much to signing, and they said we'd like him blacklisted. Well, I like working with him, so he's only blacklisted for that one client. You know, I reluctantly did it because I have to do what my clients asked me to do, because they were like, he can never work at our files again. And I had a side conversation with him and said, don't worry, we have other business there, but you're not welcome there because of this issue. And they agreed. But it does show, like, if I've not blacklisted you and you're blacklisted by another company, and I can show this with my, let's do a screen share here, because I have some of our notaries that are blacklisted, and I know I usually find out why. You can be blacklisted from, where's my share button? Give me a second, I lost my little share. There we go. Oh, it's already showing the screen here, correct?
So when a company blacklists you, do they have to designate a reason why you're being blacklisted?
No, not at all. So let's just use I'm just going to pick a notary we haven't worked with before that doesn't have any blacklist. So let's just say she was blacklisted. Like, I don't think we've blacklisted this notary. Let's see. Let's just say, yeah, we haven't blacklisted this notary, so it wouldn't show up. So I'm just going to open this up. She has one blacklist remark, but she's not blacklisted from us, but I can leave feedback on her or I can blacklist her. And when I click on blacklist, it's going to open up and it's going to say, which client do you want to blacklist from? I can select all or have one client. So if we blacklist them, they go into another field, which I can unhide that and it'll show if we blacklisted those clients. So when it won't even show our orders to these people that have been blacklisted.
Yeah, because the reason I ask you is I fell out of favor with one company, and it wasn't over anything I did wrong. It was because a job that I had accepted turned out to be a lot more than what was expected, and it was on a holiday, and it was a last-minute signing, and I asked for $10 more, and all of a sudden, all the work, and I had done a lot of signings for them, right? All of a sudden, all the work went away. So
I'm going to tell you, you know who you're working with, and that's really great for you to bring up. You got to know who you're working with, because if you had called me and said, me personally, hey, Ronnie, I got this package and it was pretty large, and, I would assess the situation. We have some clients I cannot finagle, and I explain that to a notary, like, hey, this is going to come out of my pocket, but I'll do it. Sometimes I say no. I have white glove notaries that have come back. When you accept an order, though, you have to realize, and $10 is not that much, right, in our mind. But if they're doing a certain level of orders, you have to think about it this way. You know that every loan signing is different. Not every signing is a walk in the park. Not every signing is 100 pages or less. Not every signing, you have to think it, you have to calculate every time you pick up an order that you might be at the table for 2 hours and it might be 175 pages. And that's, if you put yourself in that mind frame, anything outside of the files you don't like that much are all going to be great. So put yourself in the mind frame that they're all going to be horrible. And then when you have the ones that are great, then you're going to feel better about your job and you won't care. But I wouldn't have probably called and asked for $10 more. I've always had the rule in my life, whatever I accept the order for, come hell or high water, that's how I'm going to service the order. And, again, 10 years later, it turned into Unlimited Ink and Notary Stars. You can follow that advice or take it to heart, or you can say, that's not my business model. I'm completely okay with you saying that's not my business model.
okay, that's understood. But I mean, this was with a company that kind of paid low for their signings anyway, in comparison to most other signing companies. So I didn't feel like I was really out of place asking for more, especially given the situation. It was a 220-page package, and it was on a holiday, and it was a signing that came in like 2 hours before the appointment time.
I want to say something else too, because you've mentioned this a couple of times. You said on a holiday. That will literally get you out of favor if you use that as an excuse for anything, holidays or rush hour or anything. You choose to work those hours. So you should never accept a file when you don't want to take one. If you choose to work on a holiday, that is literally your business. I have had notaries who come back and say, I charge double on a holiday, and they go immediately on my blacklist. Because you choose.
Well, that wasn't how I presented it to him, but that was, that was part of the situation. So
I just want you to be careful about that language, because I had notaries at the beginning of COVID said, it's a world pandemic, I'm charging 3 times the amount. And I was like, you're blacklisted. They got blacklisted by a lot of companies replying like that. And holiday, like we're business owners. And if you went into Target the night before Christmas on Christmas Eve and they quadrupled the prices, usually they're lowering the prices, not raising them. Nobody would ever go out and buy anything. Nobody would shop during rush hour or stop to pick up food on the way home. You know, I'm sure McDonald's would love to triple the cost of their home value meals on the way home. Because, you know, like they'd make a fortune for all the people picking up food for their kids on the way home. But the world doesn't work that way. So I just needed to, I know you weren't saying that, just so you know. I just wanted to play in on that because it really is it is a thing out there.
Yeah, well, I realized after our conversation that I probably shouldn't be working for this company because the person that I was talking to basically said that they didn't want to be as good as all the other signing companies. They wanted to be less than all the other signing companies. And I kind of went, okay, if you don't want to be as good as all the other signing companies, then what am I doing wasting my time?
Exactly. Just make sure never to say that out loud. Just think it.
Oh, no, I didn't say it out loud, but that's exactly what I was thinking.
And I do want you guys to know you are at free liberty to think whatever you want to about anyone, as long as you remember it stays in your head and never crosses from the back of your throat, over your tongue, past your teeth, and over your lips. Because when that happens, and once it comes to the back of your throat, you are done.
Yeah.
You know, you have now released something out into the world. As long as it stays behind those eyes of yours, and you can practice. You know, I'm just gonna look around right now and smile. And I'm thinking something so evil right now, but nobody knows. You know, just practice, smile and nod. I was taught when I worked in the bar scene back in my 20s. I used to ask the bartenders, I was cute when I was little. I'd be like, how do you deal with this? And why do you do this? And they just smile and nod. Just smile and nod. And I think that everyone needs to learn to smile and nod. It did me very well at 41. Ms. Keller, I'm going to move on to the next question if you're all resolved. You broke up there.
Yeah, I'm fine. I'm fine. You can go ahead and move on.
Okay, perfect. And I'm going to move on to Jeffrey Clark. I have not talked to you in a while, but I know that you've worked with us at Unlimited Ink.
I have. I'm not sure if I have. I keep getting orders every once in a while, but
You've worked with us quite a few times, actually.
okay. Yeah, I kind of have two questions. One is I'm not on signing order a bunch. I know you're moving over to the other one, and I am on that, of course, but since I don't do a lot of business on there, the orders that do show up, I mean, how does that affect me? Because obviously I'm not a new notary, but it probably shows that I am a new notary.
Well,
Because
for us in particular, I'm extremely loyal to the notaries, and this has been 6 months in the making of me taking my list with me. So for me, you will come along with us, and anybody that's a Notary Pro or Notary Star is definitely coming along with us. As long as you signed up for the platform, you will be coming with us. Your order count for other companies may affect you on signing order. There may be notaries that are more active. That's why I always tell people try to get business from all avenues so you can keep your order count up. Even if one's more busy, try to go for the ones that come in your area. But I've worked with you, so you can't be having a problem. You're a really great notary. I know you, so I know you don't remember.
well, I appreciate that.
I remember when a notary communicates well and does good on their file and all of those things. So you've always done really well with us.
Okay, well, I'm going to ask this question. You might be upset with me, but do you give incentives to your schedulers when they send something out?
What do you mean by incentives to my?
Well, because I get orders that are very low. I mean, very low that are for the area, for my area, because I'm in the Bay Area.
For California, I'm gonna cut you off right there because it's low for California, and I know that. So when we charge for an order, we're charging the Arizona standard rate. The Arizona standard rate is between $125 and $150. Most notaries here will work for $85 to $90, no problem. We don't have the traffic problem that California has. Now, if it's a California client, we have a lot more wiggle room. When the order immediately goes out, and you've probably seen the price increase, when the order goes out, it goes through the first queue automatically, and it will send it out at the Arizona price if it's an Arizona property. And then if we don't get a hit, we have to call the client and say, we have to charge more for this file. And notaries sometimes respond and say, I can do it for 125. And we get approval and then send it back out. And those notaries who respond and say what they can do it for are the ones that get the order, but it automatically goes out at the price that it normally would sign here. Because the bulk of our business, the bulk of our clients are really out of Arizona. Out of the 150, I mean, we have quite a few clients in Washington now. We have quite a few in Los Angeles and Florida, but the bulk of all of those are out of Arizona. So you probably see the Arizona files coming out. And when they put in an order, the system doesn't go, oh, California, new price. I wished it did, because it would be easier to explain to clients. But we also offer our clients a guaranteed rate if they put in a certain amount of orders. So let's just say we charge them 125 and it goes out in your area. We're going to see if a notary can do it for 150 or 175, and we're going to take the lower of those fees, because then it comes out of my pocket, because I offer a price guarantee to all of our clients. So Unlimited Ink offers flat rate signings, no matter if it's rushed, distance, whatever we have to pay the notary. I've paid notaries up to $600 in rural areas to go do a file 3 hours away, to get the closing there and back, and never charge my client $1 more.
Yeah, I that's great. I'm not looking for $600, signings or anything like that, of course, but just for it's great that you're explaining that, because a lot of times they come across at $70, and really the minimum in my area is $100.
The $70 files that we have are 8 pages.
They're 8 pages.
They're 8 pages, and that's the
see,
thing. That's the thing I tell, and I know the client that those come from. They're literally 8 pages, sometimes 4. And so our seller files here are really small. They're not 25 pages and all of those things. So when notaries, we have one that's actually $65, and it's 4 pages. Because we had the client, they were like, we can't pay, $100 for 4 pages of paper, and I will tell you, get to know us and other clients and do at least one, because this is what I'm going to tell you. The notaries that are going, I don't want to do those. We are starting to do RON here in Arizona, and those $65 files are just going to be done online, and you won't even be offered at all. If it's hard to fill the order, and if the notaries that we have notaries in California, and I want the California notaries to know this as well. I'm as for RON as I am against it. But in California, we have notaries that sometimes counter offer $300. And those are going to be the first ones that are affected when RON goes in full in their area. Right now, if it's coming from out of state and it's a state that has RON, they'll just put it on RON and you'll never see the order. But all the notaries that are charging excessive fees, trying to bulk it up, those are the ones that are going to be affected the most, because now you're going to be confined to RON. And I'll tell you, AmRock, I used to could do $10,000 a month easy, not bragging about what I made, but yes, in Phoenix I could. And now those orders go so fast through RON. I barely get 5 a week. And it's changing things. And I don't mean to scare anybody, but RON is going to change things. But get to know the files. For us, if you see one lower, ask about it. Like, write back and say, how many pages is it? And but our $70 files, the maximum I think is 18 pages.
Okay, yeah, I wasn't aware of how large they are. It just because it says, it's very limited to the information you get when you get those things coming across. So, I mean, I'm looking forward to you switching over to the Sig, because I think that it's easier to reply on that platform than the signing order. And that's one of the reasons I don't like signing orders, because you can't say, no, I can't do it for this reason. You have to write a whole paragraph just there's no easy click, I can't do it because it's too far away or whatever the reason is, So that's one of the reasons I kind of have stayed away from signing order, which has hurt me, I guess, in the sense that I don't do a lot of work on that platform. But
I will tell you that there are a lot of emerging signing agencies on signing order. Pretty much if you have 100 orders a month, you can use signing order to manage notaries. They've gotten a little bit stricter. I think it has to be like 400 or 500 now to where you have to do it. But you should, try, learn something about them. I know you. So, I mean, you may not remember working with me and talking to me on the phone. But I know you from when we really first went nationwide, and I know that you're a good notary, and if I have an order out in that area and I happen to be working with the schedulers and they don't know you, I'm like, yeah, get him on it. If we can get you. So I know the quality of your work from working with you in the past, but you should try. And signing order is a lot of emerging signing agencies. It caters to a multitude of smaller agencies. SnapDocs is probably the largest, bigger companies on there or higher volume. ZigZig to me is going to be companies my size and larger. I still consider myself a small signing agency at 3,000 transactions a month. I think, when you get up to 5,000 upwards, it's kind of like the bank. You got to make a certain amount of money before they even call you a small business. Everyone's a small business, but then before they call you a mid-level business, you got to make 5 million. And, it's kind of the same way. I think we're progressing. Signing order just can't keep up with us anymore. But you can work with a lot of new and emerging signing agencies. But I will tell you that a lot of the fees you see on ZigZig are higher because of most of the clients there are California clients that pay more.
Right. Just a question on that ZigZig. How do I know if I've been blacklisted or not on there? Because I don't receive any requests from them anymore.
You really wouldn't know. No, but that's the sad part is that when a notary gets blacklisted, they don't know.
I mean, well, I don't know if it's blacklisted because it's a platform, but you know what I mean? It's like I've done one order on that platform and I don't receive, it's not like SnapDocs or signing order where I'm getting requests every week from those platforms. I never get any requests from that platform. So I'm just wondering, because I've gone through and I refilled up my profile and everything as when we went through the training and everything, and made sure I was at as high as I can be, I guess, from the information that I could fill in, but
if I know Adam is pretty much feels the same way I do. Like, I think if you had done anything really wrong, he would have called you. He's very communicative with the notaries on the platform, and it's to his to his advantage to have a communication with the notaries. So, but I know for a fact you're not blacklisted because you're on our list.
Okay, well, I'm looking forward to
I know where you stand, whether you believe me or not. I know where you stand.
No, I appreciate it. I'll wait until you're on that platform and wait for those orders and see what happens.
Yeah, and we are ever growing in California. We just took on another large client throughout the country. We'll be going one by one. So we have 2 major movements this year. I won't name names of title agencies, but I know for a fact our California notaries are going to start getting a lot happier. And we are also, Florida clients are going to be getting a lot happier in Colorado. So we have a lot coming in 2022 as well. And that's why we're doing this. It's not just self-serving for Unlimited Ink. I wanted a lot of the Unlimited Ink notaries to know about this and get them going, but I want everyone on Notary Stars to know as well. And I think notaries need to be kept in the loop. Like, it's kind of like this. If no one tells you they're moving platforms and you're focusing on the wrong one, you miss orders. So I think it's important for us to have these conversations and know where business is shifting and going. I'm going to go on to answer some more questions. Before I answer some more questions, Miss Beth, do we have anything from the chat?
We do. We've had Kerry Sapp had a question in the chat, and he's been waiting quite a little time to get this answered. And it may be a little bit off of what your topic is currently, but he's asking, he said you mentioned that decreasing the number of orders because you may not have accepted them moves you down on the list. He says he gets several throughout the day he has to turn down because he has an 8 to 5 job. And he wants to know if that's an actual issue.
Yes. So if you're not, so here's the thing, for signing order, no. For SnapDocs, yes. I always advise you, if you're working on SnapDocs, that even if it's the end of the day, you go through and you clear your notifications or you put yourself on vacation. Signing order also has a vacation mode that you can put in. A lot of the platforms do. If you don't respond to orders on these platforms, we will manually downgrade you if we know that you're just not accepting orders anymore. And we have notaries that take 2 months off or 3 months off, and that's great. You own your own business and you got your own life. But if we find our wheels spinning and we're not getting orders assigned, of course, we're going to give it to those who are looking for orders. With SnapDocs, they will actually put you down on their list if you're not responding to the orders. So you kind of have to go through at the end of the day. And even if the order's already passed, you have to say, I'm not available. If it rolls over, and I say, if you're on the East Coast, do it well before bed. But I think it goes by the California clock, since they're on California, whatever is midnight at whatever time. If you find yourself opening orders at the end of the night and they say, this has already been assigned or whatever, that's fine. But you at least want to click on it, at least say yes or no, even if it's already passed. And SnapDocs, I know for a fact, you can still respond to an order, even if it's already passed, up until a certain time. So that counts into their way of doing things. So that I tell you, and you want to get into the habit of doing everything uniform across every platform. That's the way we teach loan signings at Notary Stars. Is we teach you the best way, the path of least resistance, is to do it that way for everyone, even if you don't have to. Communication, the way you sign the documents, the way you return documents, the way you handle orders. But having a full-time job, as long as you're doing that at the end of the day, shouldn't affect you.
Ronnie, it was less that I do respond to each notification that comes and I'm not available. And, I go on, I do all of that. It was just more of, yes, I go on and I say unavailable, or I go to the site and it says this is no longer available to you. But still there's that, I'm not available. Sorry, I can't. I'm sorry, I can't, because I have an 8 to 5. And I just wanted to get your take on, well, on signing orders, they have the calendar and I fill the calendar out. And I'm still getting orders, which is great. I love it. And I'd rather have more than none. I'd rather say, no, thank you, I'm unavailable, than not have anything. But just across the board, it's just, that will not, as long as I respond, that will not necessarily hurt my options for in the evening or on weekends. I do my best to say, sorry, I can't make it, or I get onto the site that says it's already taken. I have no problem with that. It's with your comment, for me at least, I took it as, you better start taking some of these, or,
Well, let me backpedal on that. If you're on my notary list, which I can only have full-time people on my blue list. Those are my hard-hitting notaries. They're doing this all day, full-time. Part-timers go on list 2. They're still good, but they go on list 2. If you're not on someone's list at all, it's not affecting you. If you wind up on someone, like if you were in Phoenix or in one of my really hot spots, and you were on my blue list and you weren't taking orders 9 to 5, yeah, you would come off my blue list for sure.
Okay.
You've
Thank
got
you for that.
another question in the chat, and this one's from Kathy Rode. She says, does notary rating, is it affected by whether or not you take a last minute signing? In other words, does it help you to take last minute signings?
No, and everybody knows it's not your fault. I mean, most of us in scheduling and assigning, we know if you're not available for a last minute signing, they should have scheduled it earlier. We're lucky if we get a notary on a last minute signing. So it's not, we don't look at you if you say no, just remember this: if you take a last minute signing that's got ASAP on it and they need instructions, if you're the kind of notary that needs to prep the documents and doesn't really know your processes, last minute signings are not for you. That's where you can really get bad feedback. I'm telling you the truth. You don't want to take last minute signings a couple of hours away, 2 hours away. I don't mean in distance, I mean in time. That's not considered a last minute signing. If they need you to drop everything and go right now and you're brand new, probably not the signing for you. You don't need to prove yourself that hard. There will be plenty of last minute signings once you know exactly what you're doing.
That pretty much clears the chat, other than a process for the zip code thing on signing order, which I don't know if that's something you want to address today or not.
The process for the additional zip codes is you go into your notary profile and it'll offer you to pay for Premier membership. And I think it's like $2.99 a year or $2.99 a month. I haven't done it in forever. When I did it, I think it was like $2.99 a year, and I think they've gone to a monthly fee, but you just pay and it will charge you, and you put in your zip codes. And I always tell notaries, don't use your own zip code that you live in because you're already there. Use your zip codes surrounding you, and don't use zip codes unless there's actually residential homes in those zip codes. Pull out a zip code map, Google, Phoenix zip code or Nevada zip codes, and find out what these zip codes are, and zoom in and say, is this residential or is this business? We're doing refis where we get most of our business, purchase, sales, refinances. Sure, people have to go to work during the day, but where do we do most of our signings? Usually at someone's home. So you want to put most of your zip codes in residential areas. And then Ms. Rose, I see you've had your hand up for quite a while. Thank you so much. By the way, before you start, Ms. Rose, Robin, you had your hand raised and then it went down. If you have a question, please put it back up because I'm going to call time on questions. So we will take Ms. Rose and then Randy, and then we'll say happy holidays to everybody. And then Ms. Rose, go ahead. You're muted. There you go.
Okay, there we go. You answered a question for me last night in the clubhouse, but then you had me thinking. I am a vendor for 3 national title companies.
Mm-hmm.
And I also get orders for them through the signing services. So with me, I do call those companies maybe once a week to let them know what my schedule is and to see if they have any orders available. So when you said tonight that we shouldn't call.
No.
So,
and I'm going to explain something to you too. You said something that's really important, and thank you for starting this part of the conversation. So number one, you should never call a signing service when an order goes out in your area to negotiate the fee, to see if you can get it. Let us do our job to get the order assigned. You do your part on your profile and those things. It is annoying and we don't have time for it. Mr. Griffin said it best. He's been told the wrong way, and I've actually had to pop off at a few notaries before and be like, I just can't right now. So no. And the reason you may see, if you're a vendor for a title company national, you can work with them locally, but those orders might be coming from another state or another office that's not near you, and they're using the signing agency, a signing agency platform of some sort to send them out to you. You probably are talking to your local office that you can drive to. Am I correct? No, you're not talking to one you can actually physically drive to. You're on mute again. I'm gonna unmute you.
there we go.
There you go.
The title companies that that I'm a vendor for,
Mhm.
I don't get those orders through SnapDocs or any of the other signing platforms.
Mhm.
I get them directly from the title company.
Right.
But when I call them, I don't call a signing service to see if they have any orders. When I call the title company to
Right.
talk to the scheduler to see.
Right.
But you said I shouldn't call
No,
them?
if you have a rapport with them, yes. But you said that you also see orders coming out on a platform from them. And what I was trying to explain to is you may have a relationship with this title company that's a national title company, but what you may not realize is that national title office, like Fidelity has an office on every corner of Phoenix, and I work with Fidelity National Title at this location. But then I see an order come in from SnapDocs from Fidelity, and I don't know what office that is. It's because that another office could be using that platform. And so, if you have a direct relationship with them and they're okay with you calling in, you can do that. I will say that if you are at that level, I highly recommend getting an online booking system that is secure, where they can at least place their orders for you and see your calendar, so you don't have to call them. If you're in that good that you can call and give them your schedule, it will do you well to work on some sort of development where people can see your schedule and book you easier. That's how I took my business to the next level as well. If you're already there, please look into that kind of information because it will do you well.
Do you have any suggestions for an online booking system?
When I did mine to first start, I used You Can Book Me. And that was light years ago. You can book me to start out. It's $10 a month. If you have an escrow office that's using you a lot, very easy view. Make sure you set up your parameters. How many hours notice do you need? Make sure you're not charging them because they're not placing an order. You can use something like that. And then, eventually had a virtual assistant that updated my calendar every time for me. But I would start with something like a Calendly, or You Can Book Me, or there's a ton of services out there where you can have someone book you, and you can make it private just for them or just for your loan signings. And you need to learn how to sync your calendar so that if you take a signing from another company and you put it on there, pay those upgrades, because some say you can pay this fee if you have an upgrade every 5 minutes or every minute or whatever. Make sure you pay for those upgrades to keep it updated, because you don't want someone to book you and you've already been booked.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome so much. All right, I'm going to take Miss Robin and then Randy. Miss Robin, you had your hand up for a while, and I'm sorry you had to wait, but I want to get your question in as well.
Yeah, I was wondering, I'm going to work with a national title company. They also, on other platforms, the same title company is going to be on there. So I already know this title company before I got on the platforms, but I didn't do it because of COVID hit. And now I'm going to go work with them. So am I doing a conflict of interest?
No, there may be some people who would like to say that, but you're probably going to be working with them locally.
Yes.
And if they're bringing you in, they're not going to send you the orders through that platform. Here's the deal though. So if you work with me at Unlimited Ink and then you return a package local and you drop your business card to my client, boy, everyone on the internet's going to hear about that. And they teach you that basic notary.
Yeah, I would do that.
Yeah. But if you've established a relationship and it was before, that's not your problem. No one can blacklist you for that or do anything. It's only if you like take an order and you start calling the escrow officer after, like, hey, can I work with you direct? Which I see notaries do daily. And my clients literally love to send us over things. And we had 2 notaries in Seattle that walked right into our client and gave a whole presentation and said they were starting their own signing service, and they'd been with us. I literally trained them and gave them free memberships at Notary Stars. And then they turn around and try to do that, and then they don't work very well. They're not doing very well themselves now.
Okay, and I have one more question. Mr. Griff brought it out. Because the title company, you got to have a certain amount of EO insurance to work with them. And so should I still put that amount with the signing companies that I have for that title company, or just keep my rate I got with the NNA?
So I always recommend for serious notaries to have at least $500,000. I mean, if you look at rate, I don't even know why the National Notary Association starts at 25,000. I don't know what your rate is with them, but look around and see. Tell me if you see any houses that cost $25,000 these days.
Not in California.
Not most places. I'm from LaGrange, Georgia, and there's not a house for 25,000 out there. That's standing. And
no. So I did, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. I did get the large amount to work with this title company, like you said. Eventually, way in the future, I hope to be like you. So I got even extra just in case, but it ain't gonna happen for a while for me because it's California. It takes the time to get established.
You never know. All you have to do is want it and do a good job. When I hired Hannah, well, she was with me at another company, but when I hired her for Unlimited Ink, I said, you will never get a raise. I don't see this kind of future. And they've all had raises, and we treat them very well. So you never know. If you would have told me 6 years ago that a notary company was going to do $4 million in revenue, I'd say you crazy.
Like me.
Yeah, but you never know. All you have to do is do a good job and want it, and people will see that.
Okay.
What you really are will always come through.
Okay, and the last question, I'll let you go. I don't mean to take a while of your time.
You are
I'm glad you explained the limits in California, because that's why, I mean, I'm putting myself out there, but it's okay. That's why I do not, sometimes don't respond to your company, but I'm signed up with your company because I didn't know it was at your rate
Mhm.
compared to the national rate of everybody else. And like, California is off the hook. So now I know to not judge you on those levels of monetary or value, because I really love doing your signings when I do get them. So I
You guys
know
should
to
always
respond more. Huh?
You know, if no matter where you are, you should always respond, and try. If it's not in your price range, there are notaries that will work for those price ranges, but sometimes if a notary responds and we see a Notary Star and a Notary to Pro and they've countered offered for a higher fee and it's in an area that we don't know a lot of notaries, sometimes we will take that higher fee just because we know we'll get a great quality job out of it. So you should
Okay.
always at least respond or counter offer. It doesn't mean you'll get it, but it does
Yeah.
mean that you have a better shot of getting it.
And not to counter offer too many times, correct?
You can counter offer as many times as you want.
Oh,
You
it
can-
doesn't look bad?
No, if that's your fees, that's your fees. You should counter offer. I would say if you counter offer a lot, you're probably going to reduce the files that you can take. If they're within your price range, take them. If they're within your distance and price range and all of those things, if they're not, you should counter offer with everyone and say, I can do it for this, but there's always going to be a notary somewhere that will do it for that price generally.
Yeah. Okay.
So you have to do it. But California, we understand. Don't judge any company, not just Unlimited Ink. I mean, I'm just more vocal than most people. Their signing order works the same for them as it does for us. And, coast to coast in California, they're paying the same rate. They're not paying higher rates in California as they are in Texas. They have a national average that they say, and I think that's low. And, you just have to, if it's within your price range and you feel good about it, but also a lot of the notaries that I know in our hotspots, we've got them, they do work for our prices because they do multiple files for us all day. They're like ping pong balls all over the city, just going and doing multiple files. So they have their mobile printer, their mobile scanner, and they're just leaving one job to the next.
Yeah.
It really just depends. Let's just say an order comes out and you have a mobile printer and a mobile scanner. You're already on your road for the day, but you have a 3-hour break in between, and you're sitting at a signing table and you see an order come out in that zip code, and you're like, print the docs, and you just go a few streets over and do that order too and get it done. Now you've increased your fee and didn't really hurt yourself in any way. So you got to think about it. Some of those fees are also being eaten up. Like Mr. Griffin said, he he doesn't really mind taking an $85 order because he could take 5 of those. And what's better, making one order for 175 or 5 for 85?
So Ronnie, you keep
What's that? You broke up there.
you freezing. I don't hear you. You're freezing.
Oh, I think you're freezing because everybody else is moving, but you're freezing.
Okay, that is me. Sorry.
That's okay.
But that was it. That's the questions I had. I appreciate you answering them, and I'll know how to adjust my schedule to accommodate you more for myself.
Awesome. All right. Thank you, Miss Robin. And we're going to go to Randy Venters for our last question today.
Hey, Ronnie. Two questions. First one being, you kind of already spoke about replying to offers.
Mhm.
I know on SnapDocs it shows a percentage for your reply rate. Does that really matter? And do you see that on other platforms? And does it make a difference in what you're
It's
replying?
not a feature. That's not a feature on signing order, but it's been talked about being added in. I think it's a great feature, but each little platform has its own bells and whistles. Signing order, you don't have that reply rate. So it doesn't affect you, but on SnapDocs it does.
Okay. So even if it's after the fact, it's better to go in and just click on some of those to reply that you're not available then.
As a notary, when you're done out of the field, your process should be, if you're on SnapDocs and you use that every night when you're closing out, you should have a time where you say, I'm going to close out all my orders, and close out also SnapDocs. You should have one process when you're about to charge your phone that I'm just going to check the text message thread from SnapDocs and make sure I responded to all the orders and then get rid of them.
Okay, and thank you. And then second question is, I'm in one of those areas that's around that $85 range.
Mhm.
Anything notaries can do to actually affect that rate and get that rate to go up?
Yes. So I know that, and I know why you're asking, because you're in a very expensive area of the country.
Yes.
That is, the rate up there. I will tell you, I know for a fact that it's not the notaries that are the saturation of notaries that are driving down the rates. It's the title companies there. What's happened in your area, Randy, in particular, is that for a long time there were only so many title companies, and now they can purchase the licenses to come into Seattle. And we started seeing that with, I won't name names because I've got clients up there, but we saw a big client boom years ago there, and it was a tech company title. And we've seen more and more title agencies, they're opening left and right up there. And now they're charging lower fees to the customers for mobile notaries and things where they used to charge higher. And it's really driving down the rates, I think, in Seattle, because we had a company write us, one of our big clients that you work with, they just sent us an email and said, we have too much competition. And I can show you that email. They said, we have too much competition. We are lowering our rates. And if you don't want to work with us, we'll just get a company that will. And we had to, we're not going to say no, but I know it's because of competition for a fact in your area. So the notaries getting the areas to raise, I don't think so. It would be that too hard. I've always had this vision of all the notaries in the country going on strike one day. God forbid, God help you if you think you can ever get all 65,000 of us to band together and just go on strike for a day and demand higher fees. It won't work, because there would be another 65,000 of us out in the field taking our jobs. We don't have a union. We don't have, anything. And all of us have so many different opinions that there, we'd like to think we have a governing agency, the National Notary Association, but we really don't. We govern ourselves and we look to all these things, but so hard for us to get so many people together, like-minded, and believe in the same thing. But I've always had a secret little dream of throwing a notary strike and seeing what would happen, but it ain't gonna happen.
All right, thank you. And then really quick, because you kind of touched on some parts of it, but you didn't touch on all of it, and you do a really good job explaining it. Can you explain to everybody kind of when they see, like on the, wherever it says, whatever the notary fee says it is that the title company is charging the client, how they incorporate other costs in there, and how the signing company is incorporating other costs in there. So there's sometimes a big difference between what the client says they're getting charged and what the notary is actually making.
So when the notary fee goes onto the settlement statement, that's what title is charging the customer, or what they anticipate charging them. Whatever you see on the settlement statement, we're probably sending an invoice for them, except I do have some clients, no matter what, we bill them a certain price. They keep kind of a reservoir of the difference of those two in case we do need to charge them more for other signings. Because again, Unlimited Ink is a flat rate signing company. So we charge them X amount of dollars and we pay the notary X amount of dollars. And anything in between comes out of our pocket. We have some clients that, let's just say that they charge the client $150, we bill them $25, that the rest of it goes into an account in case we do have to charge more for certain files out in certain areas where we can add a cushion in there.
I was in escrow for 7 years, and that was standard practice. It was a flat fee budgeted for that type of signing, and that's what went on the settlement statement. And then if another notary had to go out or they had to be other adjustments, it would come out of any overages in that account. They called it their slush fund.
Mhm. I like that word. I've never heard somebody call it that. We
Yeah.
can't call it escrow because it's not a true escrow account, but slush fund sounds like a good word. Randy, does that help you out? You went back on mute, but does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you. And there's things in there like sometimes the title company's counting the UPS label in there, the FedEx label, and they're on that cost and other administrative things and those costs as well.
I want to mention this because you brought up the UPS and FedEx labels. Guys, that's another fee that comes in. And I know you think that it's not that expensive to get a FedEx label if they're on a account, but we have an account with FedEx and sometimes it costs us $50, $60 for corrections. And then notaries, they're like, I can't afford a shipping label, so we have to buy it and take it out of their fee. If I paid for all shipping, I would just be out of business. We hire notaries because they know that they can get the job done and if they'll get the job fixed before they go. But sometimes notaries don't really take into account that when you walk away from your signer, it's Christmas Eve tomorrow. If you signed anybody today, they could be leaving out of the state, to go for Christmas somewhere. And if now they got to get another notary in another state to sign and fix your stuff. You got to be careful because shipping labels are a cost. And if you make a mistake, you have to be able to either purchase that shipping label and I bought many of them in my day, more than I'd like to say in the beginning, to get it shipped out. You can't gripe and complain because your job is to do it and do it right, and get it done. If it's not your error, then they should pay for the shipping label if it's something that they did. But if you make the mistakes, it's really on you. Okay, guys, I am going to ask if you don't mind. This is not a boot camp or anything, but we do have quite a few people still here tonight. If you're not in your pajamas waiting on Santa Claus to come, I would love for you to turn on your cameras. I love to see your faces. I know that sometimes people are eating or doing things and they like to be off camera, but if you don't mind turning on your cameras and, I want to preface this, okay, because I don't want anyone to feel left out. I don't know how many holidays there are other than Hanukkah and Christmas. And I know some people don't believe in either one. I want you to know that I personally say Merry Christmas. I hope that's okay. If you don't celebrate Christmas, Happy Hanukkah. If you don't celebrate either one, Happy Holidays. If there's something that I missed, please send me a nice email to contact@notarystars.com and I will learn about that holiday and wish it to you next time. I'm always about learning. I want to say thank you for all of you that did come along for the 3 events that we've had this week on the transition to ZigSig, to the follow-up conversation, and then tonight. It means a lot to me. We've had an amazing year at Notary Stars. Whether you're a member with us or not, or a free member, or how you wound up here tonight, I want you to know that I never when I started Unlimited Ink, I didn't think it could get this big. And when I started Notary Stars, I had no idea it was going to get as big as it has. And I'm very blessed to be here with you guys. And I'm very blessed to have Miss Beth with me. She's my work wife now. And I just want to say thank you for such an amazing year. This will be our last event this year. So I want to say Happy New Year to everyone as well. And I want you to know that every single one of you means something to us. We have a brand new series coming out next year, all about customer service. We're doing a free event once a month called Notary Stars Unlimited. Notice the play on words there, Notary Stars and Unlimited. It is not a crossover, but we will be using a lot of the information that we have from Unlimited Ink to kind of help guide you where you should be in your year. We will resume live training at Notary Stars right after the first of the year. We have our boot camp, and next year our theme is Make 2022 your or our year, and I mean our industry. So we have a lot of free events. Please get onto Notary Stars. There's a whole tab there, Notary Stars Unlimited. It'll be kicking off the first part of next year. And I want to say Happy Holidays, Happy New Year. but I'm looking forward to our new journey next year. Good
Bye,
night,
guys.
everybody, and please be safe over the holidays. Okay, remember as you're driving around, it's not you, it's all these people on YouTube. So be careful.
Merry Christmas, Happy New Year.